In my previous life, my sister swapped her son with my child. Unexpectedly, 25 years later, my son became a street delinquent. In contrast, her son ascended the corporate ladder with remarkable ease, securing the position of CEO at a young age, purchasing a villa for me, and granting me the opportunity to travel the world. She stormed into the company with a paternity test in hand, only to be expelled by the security personnel. President Shin stated that even if you are her biological mother, you have not fulfilled any responsibilities of nurturing, thus he does not acknowledge you. In her despair, she drove her car into me, resulting in my death. Upon opening my eyes again, we returned to the day of the child swap. This time, my sister clutched her child tightly, laughing with wild abandon and pride. From now on, you shall be the mother of a delinquent, while the grand villa and endless wealth shall belong to me. As she spoke, perhaps overwhelmed by joy, my sister's voice resonated loudly, leaving everyone in the room momentarily stunned. At that moment, my husband stood beside me, his fury ignited by her words. "What little ruffian are you cursing?" I, however, gazed at the soft, tender child in my arms, my mind adrift. I had indeed been reborn, transported back to the very day my sister exchanged our children. In my previous life, she had coveted the considerable wealth my husband and I possessed, secretly swapping our sons. Her schemes were audacious. Both my husband and I belonged to the upper echelons of society, our familial circumstances vastly superior to hers. Since childhood, she and I had been at odds. By swapping our children, she could not only have me raise her child at no cost, but also take her revenge by mistreating mine for her own satisfaction. When her son inherited our fortune, she would brandish a paternity test and seek him out, leading to a blissful family reunion. How delightful it would be. Alas, reality proved far less rosy than her fantasies. 25 years later, her son indeed became a resounding success, ascending to the role of a billionaire company president. My husband and I resided in a grand villa, traversing the globe with the fortune he bestowed upon us. In stark contrast, my son had been raised to become a street thug, nearly estranged from her. Undeterred, my sister eagerly presented a paternity test to Shin Seong, only to be unceremoniously expelled by the company as security. Shin Seong refused to acknowledge her as his mother, hurling harsh words in her direction. In a fit of despair, my sister drove her husband's bus into my vehicle, resulting in our untimely demise. Little did I anticipate that this would lead to my rebirth. Witnessing my sister revel in her child's misfortune, I understood. She too had been granted a second chance. Unfazed by my husband's remarks, my sister exhibited no fear. Having always been favored by our parents and indulged by her husband, she had developed an insufferably spoiled demeanor. Perhaps her rebirth and the presence of her child bolstered her confidence, prompting her to sneer, "Your inferior genes can only produce a street thug, and you dare to complain?" In the second chapter, she proclaimed, "My child is destined for greatness. He will surely become a wealthy magnate." Lin Shu, as sisters, I advise you to seize the opportunity while you are still young and have another child. Otherwise, that little thug will eventually overpower you both, leaving you helpless. Her taunts pierced me, causing my nails to dig into my palm. Had she not relentlessly abused Lin Chuan, forcing him to drop out of school and work at a young age, he would not have ended up lost on the streets. Neglecting the home he should have returned to. The day Lin Han was killed was also when I learned of the swap. To suddenly discover that the child I had nurtured for 25 years was a mere imposter left my mind in turmoil.
To confront Lin Han?
To question the hospital's authority, to demand answers from Shen Xiang. Yet, above all, I wished to find Lin Chuan, my true son, the one she had tormented for so long. However, before I could reach him, I found myself beneath Lin Han's bus. Hearing her sardonic remarks, my husband rolled up his sleeves, ready to confront her. Our parents rushed in to intervene upon witnessing this. My brother-in-law, Lin Hai, scoffed, Han was merely joking. Is such an overreaction necessary? With relatives like you, I find it utterly embarrassing. Before he could utter another word, my husband's temper flared, landing a punch squarely on his face. Just as he prepared to strike again, I grasped his hand, urging, "Enough, Shun Wei. In this new life, I simply wish to make amends for my unfortunate child. As for Lin Han, I shall find a way to deal with her. There is no rush." That evening, we arranged for a transfer to another hospital. While organizing our belongings in the ward, I overheard hushed whispers from the adjacent curtain. My sister, attempting to suppress her excitement, could not conceal her delight. I have returned to life. Our Seong will become a great magnate. Initially, her companions were skeptical, but as Lin Han elaborated, their eyes gradually glistened with hope. After all, who wouldn't he be enticed by the prospect of living in a luxurious villa and achieving financial freedom? Our parents took turns cradling Shin Seong. No, now he was Lin Seong, affectionately calling him their beloved grandson. Lin Hai joyfully slapped his thigh, grinning ear to ear. He is indeed my son, a true dragon among men. Yet, when Lin Han mentioned my child, her expression brimmed with arrogance. Lin Shue's son will surely become a little thug. My father frowned. In that case, we should minimize our interactions with them. It would be troublesome if we were entangled. My mother echoed his sentiment. Let's ensure Seong attends an excellent school to prevent him from being influenced by that family. From just outside the curtain, I heard their every word with clarity. Did she truly believe that Shin Seong's success was solely attributed to his own abilities? In my previous life, I had long suspected how two diligent individuals like Shun Wei and myself could produce a son as cold and selfish as Shin Seong. He may have rejected Lin Han as his biological mother, but had I not held the majority of the company as shares, he likely wouldn't have shown me any kindness, much less afforded me luxuries like a grand villa and global travel. However, I was more than willing to distance myself from them. Hearing whispers still emanating from the curtain, I hurled my instant noodle bowl into their midst, ignoring the startled gasps, and turned to leave the ward. This was merely my first gift to Lin Han. 3. With the experience gained from my previous job, I thrived in my current position, witnessing a remarkable surge in promotions over the years. Outside of work, I devoted my time to nurturing Shin Chuan. In my past life, under the oppressive cruelty of Lin Han and her family, Shin Chuan had turned to smoking and drinking at a tender age, engaging in fights at school. Lin Han never reflected on her own shortcomings, berating Shin Chuan as nothing more than useless mud that could not be propped up. During his tumultuous teenage years, Shin Chuan grew increasingly rebellious, defying her authority and disappearing for days on end. Yet, had their home not been so disheartening, he would not have sought solace among the very thugs he now called brothers. I did not harbor extravagant hopes for my son's future success. I merely wished for him to experience a carefree and joyful childhood. In this life, with the support and care of both Shin Wei and myself. Shun Chuan shed the bitterness of his past existence. Observed through a normal lens, he resembled any other happy child, though he retained some of his father's reserved demeanor. Speaking little and exhibiting a cool disposition, he relied heavily on me, having spent the most time together. Occasionally, he would tug at my hand, requesting my company for outings or seeking my help with his studies. This weekend, I took him shopping for clothes as usual. As he gazed at his reflection in the mirror, he suddenly looked up and asked, "Mom, I don't know why, but I always feel like this life is too good to be true. Last night, I had a dream where you and Dad were gone, and a woman tied me to a chair and beat me. I bit her, and she slapped me. It felt so real, like I had experienced it before." His wide, round eyes were filled with confusion. I gently stroked his head, soothing him with a soft voice, since it was just a dream. It's all in the past. If you ever have nightmares again, come find your father and me. Don't keep it bottled up. Still a child at heart, Shen Chuan nodded, clutching the new clothes in his hands, and a smile returned to his face. However, while he was in the fitting room changing, I caught sight of someone from a distance through the racks of clothing. It was Lin Seong. In my previous life, he had enjoyed a life of luxury with my husband and me, but now, following Lin Han and her family, his lifestyle was far less opulent. Though his attire suggested he had not been neglected, he held Lin Hai's hand, yet the person beside him was not my sister Lin Han. Instead, it was another, younger and more beautiful woman. They approached with laughter and chatter, resembling a blissful family of three. Through a row of garments, his still slightly childish voice reached my ears with clarity. "Sister, my dad is both handsome and gentle, and he really likes you. Will you be my mom?" I promised to behave. The lovely girl was evidently amused by his words, playfully responding, "What about your mom?" Lin Seong paused for a moment. "My mom is ugly and fierce, always forcing me to study. She's nothing like you, sister." Meanwhile, Lin Hai stood just a few meters away, engrossed in his phone. Seemingly oblivious, occasionally glancing up at them with a smile in his eyes, utterly indifferent to his son's disparagement of his wife. At that moment, I could only imagine my sister, blissfully unaware, preparing dinner for this heartless father and son duo at home. Witnessing Lin Siyang's antics, I felt no surprise. For in my past life, he had committed the same transgressions. Shenwei operated a boxing club in the city, employing several young women as secretaries. In my previous life, those young girls had effortlessly charmed Lin Siyang into forgetting his identity, leading him to return home only to beat and scold me, publicly humiliating me by declaring that he desired a beautiful sister to be his mother. In this life, despite being in a different family, Lin Siyang remained just as heartless. Lin Hai, too, appeared half-heartedly complicit, unable to resist temptation. I averted my gaze, but discreetly captured a photograph of Lin Hai and the young girl in a moment of intimacy. When Shun Chuan emerged from the fitting room, I was about to take his hand when I suddenly heard a sharp scream. "I'll kill you, you little mistress." Chapter 4 sister appeared in my line of sight, disheveled and stumbling. After a long absence, she had shed the exquisite elegance of her previous life, now looking a decade older, weary and unrefined. It was long rumored that she had forsaken her career to devote herself entirely to nurturing Lin Siyang into a successful businessman. No wonder Lin Hai and Lin Siyang were adorned in designer labels while she emerged from the house clad in an apron, the stains of oil and remnants of food still visible. It was a pity that despite her high hopes for her son, he yearned for a more beautiful mother. Upon witnessing Lin Hai and the young woman entwined, my sister broke down and charged at them, choosing to confront the young girl rather than the unfaithful man. Seizing her hair and striking her. "I'll kill you, you seductive vixen." Lin Siyang, sensing the escalating situation, quickly sidestepped and hid behind a rack of clothes. The young girl, caught off guard, bore several marks on her face from my sister's grasp and had her hair disheveled. Yet, she was no pushover. Seizing the moment, she retaliated with several slaps, leaving my sister momentarily dazed. Their scuffle drew a crowd of onlookers. I stood by, silently speculating on the outcome of this altercation. My sister, accustomed to managing household affairs, should have the upper hand against the younger girl. As expected, after several rounds, my sister gained the advantage. However, just when it mattered most, Lin Hai, who had remained silent, suddenly intervened, shoving my sister aside and shielding the young girl behind him. "What are you doing? Teacher Qingqing only came here to buy some clothes for the child. Look at what you've done." He disdainfully surveyed my sister, who stood there bewildered, and continued coldly. "Look at yourself, like a shrew. You can't even present yourself properly. You're embarrassing me, Lin Han. If you keep this up, don't force me to divorce you." With that, he turned his back on her, as if being seen with her was a disgrace, and left them all, arm in arm with the young and beautiful teacher. Lin Siyang, wanting to follow, hesitated, fearing my sister would see him, and could only sulk behind the clothing racks, glaring resentfully at the mother who had disrupted his plans. My sister, chastised and stunned, stood motionless for a long while, the facade she had maintained crumbling in an instant. In her moment of despair, her gaze fell upon me. It was as if the accumulated hatred found a target to unleash itself upon, and she suddenly raised her voice. "Lin Shu, is this your doing?" She muttered to herself. I wondered how Haige could be seduced by that vixen. Turns out it was you orchestrating this all along. You must have spoken ill of me to Haige, inciting a rift between us. That vixen was your doing too, wasn't it? You can't bear to see me well. Even at such a moment, she remained in denial. I regarded her with a cold stare, my words laced with irony. Rather than suspecting me, perhaps you should focus on your precious son. After all, it was your beloved son who introduced Lin Hai to such a fine teacher. Chapter 5. Upon hearing me mention Lin Siyang, Lin Han's emotions surged violently. She disregarded my advice, misinterpreting the core of my words. "I understand now. You must be envious of my villa, wanting to reclaim my son." I was utterly speechless, too weary to engage further, and turned to leave. However, this action only provoked my sister's fury. "Lin Shu, you too want to trample over me. Is that it?" she shrieked, seizing a nearby clothing rod and charging at me. I barely had time to react before a faster figure darted in front of me, colliding forcefully with my frenzied sister. Though still young, Shun Chuan had a sturdy physique. Caught off guard, my sister was knocked aside, falling to the ground. Shun Chuan stood protectively in front of me, his yet to fully grown body shielding me. You won't bully my mom. This declaration caused my sister's expression to flicker between surprise and confusion. She stared at Shin Chuan for a long moment, as if finally recognizing him as her son from the previous life, incredulity spilling from her lips. Impossible. Aren't you supposed to be a mad dog? How can you stand by her side like this? Her astonishment was understandable, as Shin Chuan had shown her an entirely different side in the past life. I merely smiled and ruffled Shin Chuan's hair, advising him, in situations like this, don't rush out. Stay behind your mother. I can handle it myself. Shin Chuan looked slightly hurt, pouting, but I'm afraid you'll get hurt. After a moment of silence, my sister finally regained her composure, her gaze condescending. I don't know what kind of poison you fed him to make him so obedient to you. But even so, what does it matter? He'll just be a worthless thug in the future. You'll be left to guard this useless person, alone and miserable in your old age. She attempted to rise but, having injured her foot in the fall, staggered and failed repeatedly. At that moment, she spotted Lin Xiang, who had been lurking in the corner, trying to escape. Good son. Mommy twisted her ankle. Come help me. Lin Xiang called out, reluctantly approached. Yet, upon reaching her, he grimaced in distaste. Why did you come out looking like this? His face contorted in disgust. There are a few of my classmates at the mall entrance. I've been telling them my mom is an executive. If they see you like this, where will I hide my face? After saying this, Lin Xiang paid no heed to his mother's injury and dashed away. Though the outcome was satisfying, upon returning home, Shin Chuan remained sullen. She said I'll be a thug in the future, but I want to achieve something great. Otherwise, Mom, you'll be looked down upon. And I don't want you to be mocked or bullied. Chapter 6 Shin Wei, with a satisfied pat on his shoulder, declared, we cannot afford to be complacent. Tomorrow, I shall oversee you and double the intensity of your studies. In response, I delivered a light tap to the back of Shin Wei's head. Let's not place excessive pressure on the child. Though I uttered those words, my previous tutoring of Shin Chuan had instilled in me a firm belief in his capabilities. Shin Chuan possesses remarkable talent and resilience. Given time, while I cannot ascertain if he will become extraordinary, I am certain he will not falter. However, I harbored reservations. That evening, having completed my facial care routine and prepared to rest, the doorbell rang with an urgent fervor. Upon opening the door, a figure lunged forward, clutching my leg.
Mom.
Lin Xiang's eyes darted with excitement, his demeanor a stark contrast to the one I had encountered earlier in the mall. The sudden shift left me furrowing my brow as I attempted to extricate him from my person. Child, do you refrain from misidentifying me? Your mother is Lin Han. Lin Xiang, quick to respond, declared, Mom, do you not recall? You promised that no matter the circumstances, I will always be your treasure, and that I could seek you out whenever I felt wronged. Have you forgotten? Stunned into silence, I realized these words were indeed mine, though spoken in a past life. To my astonishment, Lin Xiang too had been reborn. Seeing my momentary shock, Lin Xiang reveled in his triumph. Mom, as soon as my memories returned, I sought you out. I could not bear the confines of that household. This place is far better. He swaggered past me, reclining languidly on the opulent sofa, casually picking up an Apple phone to fiddle with. Mom, I have long desired a new phone. Would you procure one for me? That household is so miserly. They wouldn't even replace my old phone. It's utterly exasperating. I found myself equally exasperated. Surely, he did not still believe himself to be the Lin Xiang who had everything at his disposal? Clad in pajamas, Shin Chuan and Shin Wei emerged, exchanging bewildered glances upon seeing Lin Xiang so brazenly seated. What on earth is happening? Before I could interject, Lin Xiang interposed, Dad, do you not remember me? I am your son, Xiang. Shin Chuan's expression turned hostile. What nonsense are you spouting? These are my parents, not yours. Shin Wei, equally perplexed, wondered if the child had lost his mind. Upon returning home today, Lin Xiang had also experienced rebirth. Accustomed to a life of opulence in his previous existence, how could he possibly endure the meager existence with Lin Han? That very night, after regaining his memories, he had stealthily escaped from his home and sought out my address from his parents. Disturbed from his reverie, Shin Wei's temper flared. He lacked the patience for Lin Xiang's muddled explanations and hoisted him up with one hand. Child, I shall call your grandmother at this hour. Run amok in the dead of night, and I shall break your legs." Lin Xiang struggled, shouting, "Mom, I know you are also reborn. You must explain this to Dad." I rolled my eyes and opened the door, signaling Shen Wei to dispose of him outside. "You're not my son, so why should I concern myself with you?" As Shen Wei closed the door, Lin Xiang attempted to advance, but was promptly sent flying by Shun Chuan's punch. It was said that Lin Han came to retrieve Lin Xiang that night, mistakenly believing I coveted her precious son, causing a ruckus outside my door for hours. Unfortunately, the soundproofing of the building was impeccable, and we enjoyed a peaceful night's rest, oblivious to the commotion. In the ensuing months, Lin Xiang frequently seized opportunities to intrude upon our family, especially when Lin Han was preoccupied. Initially, I refrained from being harsh, considering our past connection, and politely urged him to leave. However, Lin Xiang grew increasingly brazen, even stalking Shen Chuan at school. Unable to tolerate the disruption he caused in Shen Chuan's life, I enlisted security to escort him away. "Lin Shu, you will regret this." As security dragged him away, Lin Xiang shed his facade of innocence, revealing a malice characteristic of adulthood. "Even without your assistance, I am capable of establishing my own company. I succeeded in my past life, and I shall do so again in this one. You may look down upon me now, but you will come to rue the day." Currently, Lin Xiang appeared as a mere child, and with so many witnesses present, I could not be bothered to engage in conflict with him. Yet, as I prepared to leave, I found my grip on him ineffective. Shin Chuan, gazing at the direction Lin Xiang had been taken, wore a mask of fury. When he turned to me, he spoke with utmost seriousness. "Mom, do not fear. If he dares to confront you, I shall stand against him." Listening to his earnest words, I suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of happiness in raising a child. I patted his head, my spirits lifting. "Silly boy, just call the police if it comes to that. Your father can handle the rest." Armed with memories that outstripped others by a quarter of a century, Lin Xiang consistently achieved perfect scores in elementary and middle school, earning accolades from all. My sister boasted of her son being a genius, and my parents were overjoyed. Even Lin Hai, who had strayed from fidelity, expressed admiration for him. Truly, he is my son, a manifestation of the literary deity. His marriage to my sister had become a mere formality, maintained solely by Lin Xiang, their only tether. Unbeknownst to my naive sister, who still cherished her husband, he had long sired an illegitimate child. However, the sole reason he had not divorced her was due to my sister's prophecy that Lin Xiang would one day become a great entrepreneur. After attaining top honors several times, Lin Xiang gained modest fame within the city. Following a few television interviews, he swiftly regained the superiority he had enjoyed in his past life. He would parade his report card before me, relishing in the opportunity to mock my past decision to abandon him. Unfortunately for him, each visit coincided with Shun Chuan's return from school. During this period, Shun Chuan, now in his rebellious teenage years, mirrored his father's temperament. While excelling academically, he also formed a gang, instilling fear among his peers. Typically sullen, he brightened considerably upon returning home to Shen Wei and me. Lin Xiang, seeking confrontation, inadvertently saved Shen Wei from needing to take him to the club for practice. After a few encounters where Shen Chuan defended himself, Lin Xiang finally relented. However, upon entering high school, Lin Xiang found his studies increasingly challenging. He relied on the advantage of having lived a few more years than his peers. While elementary and middle school knowledge was manageable, high school material proved to be a different challenge altogether. I vividly recall that in his past life, Lin Xiang had faltered during the college entrance examination, prompting Shen Wei and me to invest heavily in sending him abroad to enhance his resume. To preserve his confidence, we deceived him into believing he had achieved admission on his own merits. Now, after years without revisiting high school textbooks, he had forgotten much of the material. Moreover, his grandparents indulged him excessively, permitting him to play on his phone during high school and even rewarding him with the latest gaming devices. Lin Xiang inherently lacked self-discipline, and this trajectory would only lead to a steep decline in his academic performance. Within a few months, he plummeted from an elite class to an ordinary one. On the day the college entrance examination results were released, Lin Xiang's scores were even worse than in his previous life. In contrast, Shun Chuan emerged as the top scorer, making headlines. As Shen Chuan's mother, I too found myself in the spotlight due to a news story about donations to a child abuse rescue organization.
Indeed.
After witnessing the harrowing reality of Shen Chuan's past life, I could no longer turn a blind eye to the suffering of abused children. Over the years, I have donated hundreds of thousands, aiding numerous children in escaping their terrifying original families. Although it may seem a mere drop in the bucket, the thought that it could save even one life brings a profound sense of solace to my heart. At my son's graduation banquet, Shen Wei was in high spirits, extravagantly hosting our entire family at a grand hotel. My sister and parents were among the guests. Initially, I had no intention of inviting them, as Shen Wei and I had long planned to relocate to another city after Shen Chuan gained admission to university. The thought of possibly never seeing them again made me consider this last encounter. Chapter 9. My parents were acutely aware that they had not been the most responsible grandparents over the years, their heads bowed in embarrassment as they picked at their food. Relatives from my in-laws' side praised Shen Chuan effusively, yet their gaze turned to my sister in confusion. Lin Shu, how come I didn't know you had an aunt? I chuckled. What aunt? That's my sister. It was no wonder they mistook her. After years of overexertion, my sister had exhausted all her vitality, aging prematurely. Wrinkles adorned her face, and a significant portion of her hair had turned white, her fatigue unmistakable despite layers of makeup. Seated next to my mother, one might easily mistake them for siblings at a cursory glance. Seizing a moment of idle chatter, I took a glass of wine and wobbled over to my sister's side. Ever since she arrived at the banquet, she had worn a scowl, her face taut and her attire drab, resembling a bitter woman. The fire in her eyes seemed ready to ignite as she glared at me. You, of all people, dare to claim the title of a top scholar's mother? My son's fortune has been usurped by your worthless child. She raised her hand to strike me, only for her arm to be effortlessly seized. Mind your language. Shen Chuan's voice was icy. Years had passed, and he was no longer the frail boy of yore, but had grown into a robust young man towering at 6 feet. With a single hand, Shen Chuan easily subdued my struggling sister, leading her before me to apologize to my mother. My sister's face was a canvas of resentment, but her eyes suddenly sparkled with a new idea. Lin Shu, don't think your son's minor academic achievements make him exceptional. Our Siyang is set to study abroad, which is far superior to your son's prospects. Studying abroad? I pondered. Recalling the school Lin Siyang was to attend, was it not the same as in the previous life? The tuition and living expenses combined would amount to nearly $1 million a year. Lin Han's family could hardly afford it even if they sold their house. As the banquet was about to commence, I cast a disdainful glance at my sister, then splashed the wine in my glass across her face. Since your nephew is so accomplished, allow this toast to be for him. My parents hurriedly stood, only to obediently sit back down under Shen Wei's imposing gaze. Throughout our lives, my sister had never endured such indignities from me. Her eyes widened in shock, momentarily forgetting to resist. I wiped the wine splatter from my hands, declaring, "What becomes of you and your son is of no concern to me, but should you dare to disturb my family again, I will ensure you face the consequences." The security swiftly escorted my shrieking sister out. I sighed, hoping Lin Siyang would not be so ungrateful as to deplete his family's resources on a gamble for the future. Chapter 10. Soon, with Shen Chuan's commencement of studies, Shen Wei and I relocated to a new city, embarking on a fresh chapter of our lives. To ensure a more comfortable retirement, we unanimously decided to purchase a villa in the suburbs. After years of hard work, acquiring a villa posed little financial strain on us. In this new city, devoid of Shen Chuan's presence, Shen Wei and I felt liberated, pursuing our careers with fervor. 5 years swiftly passed. During this time, I ascended to the pinnacle of my career, while Shen Wei retired early, taking up fishing as a leisurely pastime. Throughout this period, we contemplated paving a path for Shen Chuan, hoping to create a shortcut for him. Yet to our delight, unlike the Lin Siyang of our previous life, Shen Chuan, with his remarkable peers, established a studio without our assistance. Through exceptional design and eloquent presentations, he persuaded investors from major corporations, successfully securing funding without utilizing a single dime we had set aside for him. Shen Wei and I felt utterly reassured, basking in the tranquility of our grand villa. Planning a vacation to France during the upcoming holiday. Before departing, I sought a cleaning lady from a cleaning service to tidy our villa. only to unexpectedly encounter Lin Han after many years. It was rumored that Lin Si-yong had insisted on studying abroad, naively believing he could find a well-paying part-time job while studying. However, less than a year later, he returned home in disgrace, having squandered his time abroad. In his previous life, he had enjoyed the privilege of Mai and Shenwei's connections, never once contemplating financial constraints. Now, alone and adrift, he struggled to find a satisfactory part-time position, rapidly falling into dire straits. After returning from abroad without a degree, Lin Si-yong attempted to launch a business. But despair soon consumed him. In his previous life, we had managed everything for him, allowing him to reap the benefits without understanding the importance of hard work. Eventually, he floundered aimlessly, leading to catastrophic investment failures that depleted Lin Han's years of savings and left him with debts amounting to millions. Lin Han was forced to sell their home, compelling my parents to sell their retirement residence as well to gather funds to repay Lin Si-yang's debts. Lin Hai had long prepared divorce papers for Lin Han, swiftly finalizing the divorce and absconding with his mistress. Since the failure of his business, Lin Si-yong had been profoundly affected, retreating into the confines of his home, becoming a recluse. Lin Han not only had to find ways to support herself, but also struggled to sustain her worthless son. However, having been out of work for so long, she was utterly out of touch with society, only able to secure the most grueling physical labor jobs. Juggling several jobs each week, she toiled tirelessly yet received no sympathy from Lin Si-yong. Now a young man in his 20s, he often lashed out at Lin Han, treating her with disdain, entirely disregarding her as his mother. When he saw me waiting in the parlor, elegantly attired for a meeting with the manager, he completely unraveled. In this life, I had endured countless hardships, and it should have been me enjoying the villa and traveling. How pitiable it is that, even now, she remains entangled in such thoughts, utterly oblivious to the fact that she is the architect of her own misfortune. The manager glanced apologetically at me. I apologize. This individual has not yet undergone training, and I regret the inconvenience. With a wave of his hand, several burly security guards promptly escorted her away. I merely nodded slightly at the manager's apologetic smile, the implication clear in my words. If I were in your position, I would not employ such an emotionally unstable cleaner. The manager, a wily old fox, understood my meaning perfectly and smiled knowingly, instructing a young woman from the HR department. After resolving the cleaning arrangements for the villa, I stretched and rubbed my wrists. My son is wonderful in every aspect, except for his rather poor taste. The large gold bracelet he bought is somewhat gaudy and weighs heavily on my wrist. Never mind. I shall let little Shin choose something better when we travel. The narrative has come to a close. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again in our next tale.